Hello, I'm Zoe, and as promised, a few words about my piece Nibiru for horn and electronics, which was written for the fabulous horn player Ben Goldscheider, who at the time of making this video is still only 27 years old and has already 51 commissions for new pieces for the French horn under his belt. I don't know anyone else who has done so much to change the repertoire for this instrument. Amazing achievement. So when the commission for this piece landed, I immediately was drawn to the idea of the horn as this archetypal ancient call to the heavens. If you think about ancient artifacts with angels calling to the heavens through trumpets, through brass instruments, all over the world, think about Renaissance art. You know, again and again, you see that the connection between earth and the heavenly realms is via some kind of horn, basically. So I thought, yes, this has to start with apocalypse. Now, I was drawn immediately to a set of writings by Babylon mythological specialist, an academic, Zecharia Sitchin, who wrote a series of books which were his translations of ancient Sumerian and Akkadian cuneiform tablets. And in those stories, he pulls out the account which occurs over and over again of the existence of a mysterious 12th planet called Nibiru that has an elliptical orbit of 12,000 years. And every time it would come close to planet Earth, there would be interactions between the beings of Nibiru and Earthlings, and there'd be great cataclysms, earth changes, all the rest of it, which seems to chime in very nicely to the turbulent times we live in. So I got myself into the studio and started to find as many real life recordings of huge explosions, of lightning, of earthquakes, of volcanoes going off, of nuclear bombs, of all kinds of apocalyptic events, but recorded from real life, you know, happening, so that you have the energy of something that has really been there. I wanted you, the audience, to shake in your seats with the energy of huge earth turmoil. And with that, I've also pulled together the sounds of Tibetan llamas blowing those enormous long, you know, they're like alpine horns. Some of my favourite sounds ever. They're kind of, well, obviously think about 50 octaves below that. Conch shells. There are sounds of all kinds of sacred horns being blown. Again, every single one of them is taken from real life. And the horn, which is Ben, plays the part in this drama, for drama it is, of every man, of humanity, stuck in this moment of huge upheaval, calling to the heavens. So then I pulled on recordings of prayers for world peace from tribes, from peoples all around the world. There's a Ukrainian choir, there's a Jewish cantor, there's somebody singing in Old Norse, there are Hopi tribe, Aboriginal tribes, there's the Dalai Lama in there, there's even me in the mix. Calling out a Lakota prayer that says, Great Spirit, for us that walk the earth, we want to live, we want to live. And the idea is that these prayers for world peace call up to the heavens along with the sound of the horn, and then suddenly, with a real life recording of a space mission, a rocket taking off from Houston, you, the audience, are taken up with all of us into the space rocket, and then suddenly, bam, we're out in space. And the only sound that we can hear is rather like the sound you would imagine of an astronaut just breathing into his helmet, into his spacesuit. And I found these incredible recordings on NASA's website of Voyager's mission to Jupiter. And the amazing thing is that the scientists that went out recorded the data of the electromagnetic field around the planet Jupiter. And then back in the lab, back home, some nerd in a corner translated this mathematical data of the electromagnetic fields of Jupiter, also of the sun, into audio sounds. And what came out was this extraordinary chord, which is an E flat major. How crazy is that? Which, by the way, is the key of so much horn repertoire. It's a favourite key for horn players to play in, but also in some traditions, E flat is associated with the resonance of Mother Earth herself. So suddenly we enter into something. Imagine now, do you know the film Space Odyssey by Kubrick? I'm such a Kubrick fan, and this is one of my favourite films of his. And there's a moment where we go into warp speed in the film, and quite suddenly the main character is completely isolated, the astronaut, in a very strange, if I remember rightly, green room, a sort of weird dining room, and he's eating dinner at a table in this parallel dimension. And he's gone through a wormhole or something. And during this time, he's suddenly aged. He's become an old man in an instant. And it's like this Rip Van Winkle effect, where suddenly infinite time has passed and we've gone through a wormhole. And this is what's happening with the horn, who, while this is happening, is playing this, what I want to be a heartbreaking melody in accompaniment to Jupiter's aura. Which is us, human consciousness, the aching longing of our souls, the beauty of the human spirit calling for love. And from here, we then translate into a completely new existence. You'll hear the sound of water running, and then the recording of a bird. And this is again from real life. This was a recording made in 1989 of a bird called the Kauai-o-o bird, one of the Hawaiian Islands. And this was the last known, the last recording of the last known male o-o bird calling for a mate that never came. However, in my interpretation of this piece, humanity enters into a new Eden, into a new earth, where this bird exists, where the earth is pristine, where we have a chance as humanity to begin again. And you hear the horn trying to learn the language of the o-o bird. So there it is, my space drama, Nibiru. And this piece, by the way, is going to be on my debut album called Album Z. So watch out for it. It's going to be released on NMC Records, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Final thing to say about this piece is that I had enormous fun on a massive tech learning curve And I did work in collaboration with incredible audio tech genius called Phil Dawson over here in the UK on working with surround sound. So this piece is designed for multiple speakers. And I had this amazing time in the Atmos studio where you can make objects fly over your head, sound objects. You can make planets come into view over as long or as little as you like. You can have a directional relationship with sound that I found just thrilling. And I know that in a few years' time, this kind of technology is going to become more and more available, not just in concert halls, but in all kinds of venues. And who knows, perhaps in a few years' time, we'll all be sitting at home in our holofields, holograph decks, having our surround sound all around us. Anyway, I really wanted the concert hall experience to be visceral so that you, the audience, would be shaken in your seats by the various sounds coming at you from all directions. It has been a joy. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you enjoy the piece.